So, first off, as far as turning the typology into a game, or things that I discussed with my ISTJ Capricorn friend, and pictured, and came up with like so. All right, extending like the power armor idea. It's like you take the armor and each of the quests that you complete, um, it's like it would allow you to get a certain piece of armor, and then those different types of armors with different worlds that you go to, you get like a unique piece of this armor, and then eventually you start creating like unique combinations of these armors and gaining like unique abilities, and they become like the markers of your progress, as well as there being a skill tree. Um, which I mentioned before, I like the idea of how like the Final Fantasy X and Path of Exile, kind of like the way their skill tree works. Having that, um, so and then there's the idea of arranging the quests by the like collective groups, like the types and all that to um, well, it'd bring people together, and it also would make it easier to be able to have the ability to kind of interchange in and out, and it makes sense at certain points, like what's happening, like based off like what's going on with the group, and quests that correlate to what's going on at each of those points. Um, yeah, and also we were talking about like making like like an astrology map where like you kind of get like the interface like you saw from that was in like Iron Man, and what they made you think Windows 10 was going to look like, where um, it kind of like pops out. You have like a like the planets, and then like you click on a certain section, it opens up, zooms out, and then you have like all the different aspects and like how everything interacts with each other. And then inside of that, it would also be like the skill trees and all that, and like the interplay between all that, and it would be um, like all these different worlds you go to, kind of the idea of um, well, take it back to being like a game. That would just be the map, which be the core, like foundation, the thing that would be made first. But then it's like you take this and like on each of the worlds there'd be like a type hubs, perhaps, um, where you're sent back to, yeah, based on that type in the environment would be different for which kind of like community it is. But of course, taking it back to the base core world, it would be like some type of slave trading. Is that a bee? But some type of like slave trading type deal, like Star Wars meets like the beginning of Fallout. Or I think it's just it's a grasshopper. But yeah. Like it's really barren and basic, and it comes from like you're in bondage and you're having to like figure out how to get off this first world. But after you do, there's like all this boundlessness, and you have like kind of like the Pendragon thing where you show up in a world on a certain timeline, but you try not to disturb it and take like weapon from or something just from another timeline, some technology that hasn't been seen, and try to like use it in ways that where it won't be noticed that you did it, but you actually did there. And then combat system might be something like Square Enix like or something. But at the core though, there's like the character customization based on like what type you are, and then it sets like your appearance, what you'd actually look like and sound like and all that. Maybe even like there's an area where you take a test, or there's a description, or it asks you like certain questions that narrow down in one way or another what kind of things this character would prefer or like. And then you kind of get to have this extra layer of like customization like that, because that's what I've always wanted more of from games, is for you to be able to more like narrow down more like exactly what you want your character that you're playing as to do, or be like and then just try to give as many abilities as you can possibly do and not like feel limited would be the priority, I guess. Like for instance, when I play Kingdom Hearts, I always try to pick like the sword and the wand, because you get the like coolest looking attacks and the most of those. That matters more to me than just having stat boost personally, but I guess that would be included in there as well. I mean, that would be a really big part of it too. It's just and then maybe it would, if all these other dynamics were included, that would change where you can kind of like break out of one type of person, learn the abilities, stats, skills of like other types, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So that is that's the goal. That's where it's going. Aside from, of course, learning how to take like well, I'll make like another video for that, I guess, too. Yeah. So we're gonna do that real quick.